All right, folks, let's get moving. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the June 2025 edition of the Amherst Town Planning Board. Let's start with roll call, please.
Shamil.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Gill.
Here.
Todd. O'Rourke.
Here.
Ken Murphy. Here. Raphael.
Okay. I've just been advised that we need to approve the town minute or the board minutes from last May now. Has everyone had a chance to look at the May Planning Board minutes?
Yes, move to approve.
Move to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, John?
Yes.
Roll call?
Shamil.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Gill.
Abstains.
O'Rourke.
Yes.
Ken Murphy.
Yes.
Passes 4-0 and one abstention. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the members of the planning board are volunteers appointed by the town board. We have final decision-making authority on site plans and subdivisions. As you'll see, we're advisory only on rezonings and comprehensive plan amendments. Those recommendations, one way or another, are made to the town board, who have final authority over those decisions. They're the elected officials. Some procedures with the items that are on for hearing tonight, and there's 4 different items. The petitioner will present to the board on the agenda item first. The board will then ask the petitioner questions and talk with them. The chair will then ask if anyone from the public has comments or questions. I would ask that any such questions be addressed to the board rather than directly to the petitioner. There is a laser pointer attached to the podium. I'd ask you to please use that and direct it to the screen to my right, your left, if you do. After the questions are had, we'll have the petitioner respond to those questions. Any items listed under unfinished business, by the way, on the itinerary do not have public hearings. In this case, that would be items 5, 6, and 7. There's no public hearings on those. Time limits, the petitioner has 15 minutes to present. The first person who speaks in response is deemed the neighborhood or resident spokesperson, and that person has 15 minutes as well. So whoever you deem to be your resident spokesperson, have that person go first. I would ask everybody else to line up over there so that we know everybody is going to have a chance to speak. All other speakers thereafter have 3 minutes each, and we will time you. A couple other final things. In the unlikely event there's some sort of emergency, I would ask everybody to go out the door that way and back out back. Don't come up here. Okay. Starting off with item number 1, 1880 Eggert Road, Eggertsville Hose Company.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Andrew Terranoli from Studio T3 Engineering, representing Ellicott Fire District. And our proposal for this evening is some site improvements to their facility at 1880 Eggert. The main feature being an addition on the front of the building to showcase a fire truck, which is part of Amherst history. It's their antique fire truck, and they would like to locate that in the front of the site to showcase it there. And the rest of the site improvements include handicap accessibility, as well as 2 future storage buildings in the rear. I know you have studied these plans, and I'd be at this time open to address any questions that you or the audience members have.
Okay. Mr. O'Rourke, any questions?
No, no questions.
John, questions?
No questions.
Brittany?
No questions.
Barb?
No questions.
Okay. Does anybody from the general public have any questions or concerns they'd like to address regarding item number 1? Hearing none, I'll close the hearing. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Item number 2, 1789 Dodge Road. Mr. Hopkins.
Good evening, Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant, Joe Rubino.
Also with me this evening is Joe Rubino, as well as Dan LaPetra, the project engineer from Carmina Wood Design. This is a project that you've seen again and again over the course of the past 6 years. We're here this evening in connection with the request for preliminary plat approval for a proposed residential subdivision located at 1789 Dodge Road. Of course, the site is currently zoned Residential District 3, pursuant to a decision issued by the town board in July of last year. Go to the next slide. In terms of the history, the most important history on this slide is the fact that you conducted a lengthy coordinated environmental review pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. That concluded during your meeting last month on May 15th with the issuance of a negative declaration. We also do have a project layout that complies with the 6 zoning conditions that were imposed by the town board on July 22nd of last year. Next slide. Show the R3 relative to the site. Next slide. So this is the sketch plan that we started with in November 21st of 2024, just to bring you back to where we were then, not particularly important this evening. Next slide. At that meeting on November 21st, you did approve the sketch plan, which is an informal approval, subject to several conditions. Next slide. One of which was asking us to consider limiting the number of lots. We explained why that's not a binding condition, does not constitute something that you can enforce on us. Each and every lot in this subdivision complies with the requirements of the zoning code. And in fact, we've already reduced the density a couple of different occasions based on wetland impacts, town board conditions, and the need to provide a stub street to the south. So we are asking that 14 lots be approved, the exact same number of lots that was subject to your environmental review pursuant to seeker. Next slide. Next slide. So this is the current preliminary plat, exactly the same layout that you saw last month. 14 lots for single family homes, 2.7 acres of permanent open space. We're showing a public right-of-way to be dedicated to the town of Amherst. We are showing an on-site stormwater management system that's been reviewed and approved. We did add a school children pickup and drop-off area here based on the request of this board. We've minimized wetland impacts to the maximum extent practicable. All we are showing is 0.134 acres of not impacts to the wetlands, but the 100-foot adjacent area at the very back of the site. We did add a cul-de-sac previously at the request of the planning department and pursuant to the amended subdivision regulations adopted by the town board in December of last year. So we comply with not only the subdivision regulations, but more importantly, Appendix D of the fire code. We're showing the requested 50-foot drainage easement for Town Ditch 26B on the back of the site. We are also showing a stub street to the property to the south, and we'll talk about the fact that we're asking for a waiver, but I do want to note 2 things. Number 1, we were asked to show evergreen trees now on both sides of that future stub street to make it clear that's demarcated as not being a part of someone's lot. And we're also showing partial installation of that to allow snow plows easy access. Our position is we don't want to install that entire roadway at this point in time for several reasons. Number 1, the highway department has expressed opposition to that. We were asked to solicit their input, and we did. Number 2, putting sidewalks to nowhere, literally in my opinion, does not make a lot of sense. And then finally, I've heard this concern that, well, if and when that stub street goes in, neighbors will have an issue. That works both ways. So I'm familiar with other examples in Amherst where there is a stub street turned into a basketball court, tennis, whatever it is, and then people are just as concerned. So I really don't think that's a legitimate ground for your decision making. We don't know if that road will ever go in. There's not a project approved for the property to the south. It's not zoned for Residential District 3, but we would dedicate that property to the town. We would install the landscaping, and we would start the stub street. So it's very clear to anyone that that is a potential stub street in the future. Next slide. And I think I've summarized that request for a waiver. So I think we have demonstrated what's required, an extraordinary hardship. Again, a road to nowhere, a sidewalk to nowhere, maintenance responsibilities for the sidewalks by the property owners, not allowing any curb cuts. From my perspective, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Ultimately, it's a decision to be made by this board. Again, the highway department is opposed to it. They would ultimately have to take permanent responsibility for snow plowing of that, despite the fact it may never lead anywhere. So we think it's better off to donate that land or dedicate that land, put the demarcation via the row of evergreen trees, and then again, provide the partial connection so it's clear to anyone that that is a stub street for the future. Next slide. This is just demonstrating that we do comply with each and every requirement set forth in the zoning code for single-family homes in the R3 zoning district, including all applicable setbacks for the homes. Next slide. So each time we've been in front of this board, I've presented this slide to show you where we're at. So we're now finally at this step, which is June 26, 2025, Planning Board public hearing on preliminary plat application. This is not the final step. If you grant approval this evening, then we have to go out and get a wide assortment of approvals from involved and interested agencies, sewer, water, et cetera. Come back one final time for final plat approval. When you approve the final plat, we'd have to record a stormwater management agreement, the map cover, and any necessary easements. Then we would have to get stormwater coverage from the DEC, building permits from the building department, and finally, we'd be able to begin this process. We are hoping that we can start this process in the fall. Again, the project's been around since 2019. And we'd at least like to get that site work done in the fall of this year. Next slide. Seeker, I don't think I need to touch on, but I do want to make one point. I did see an email from Sandy Mack pointing out that she had some concerns relative to the part 1 of the environmental assessment form that was previously submitted. And despite the fact that seeker is done, you issued a negative declaration during your meeting on May 15th. She did point out one thing that was entirely correct, that this site is and always has been within 1,500 feet of Dodge Road. It is important to note that that minor mistake or minor error in that EAF is of no consequence. The entire package was provided to the school district, so they're well aware of this project, and they did not have any adverse comments or responses to that lead agency letter dated February 19th of this year. Next slide. Wetland impacts, again, as I indicated, minimized down to 0.134 acres of adjacent area. Next slide. Landscape plan, one of the issues we spend a lot of time with is the landscaping along the frontage. As you recall, there's some subdivisions in Amherst where the lots go all the way to the through street, and then you have a side yard setback, which results in a house seeming to be awkwardly close to the principal road. As a result of that, we've provided this green space area. Bob Walter, the town's former landscape architect, has proposed supplemental plantings, including 14 trees and 30 shrubs. And as you know from the photographs we've shown again and again, there is a row of mature pine trees on that area that will be preserved as well. We can go to those next. Well, I guess I got rid of those. And then the final comment, the final topic I want to address again is the headlight analysis. We did provide that to you last month, and we also have provided a letter to the adjoining, to the contiguous, not contiguous property owner, the property owner on the opposite side of the street, saying if she chooses to have us install some plantings on her property, we would gladly do so. To date, I'm unaware of any response to that request, but again, that request is still out there, outstanding for her to make a decision. And then finally, next slide. Oh, that's the letter from Joe Rubino dated May 2nd, making that particular request. Next slide. That's the example of that photograph where you have a subdivision where the side lot is literally right close to Young's Road, something we're avoiding as a result of our layout. Next slide. Just walk you through the photographs just to show you again, there is a lot of green space and vegetation along the Dodge Road frontage today. Next, 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 next. We can skip that. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. I do want to note that again. It always was. It was just that the SA zoning that previously existed was not consistent with the comprehensive plan. And again, that was part of the town board's basis for rezoning this site in July of last year. Next. We do comply with the allowed density per the R3 zoning requirements and the recommendations for single-family residential set forth in the adopted bicentennial comprehensive plan. And then I think next is the final slide. With all that being said, and based on the extensive documentation you've been provided with over the course of the past 6 years, including numerous professionally prepared reports and studies, we are asking that you grant preliminary plat approval this evening, subject to appropriate conditions. And if you have any questions, either myself, Joe, or Dan would welcome the opportunity to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Mr. O'Rourke, any questions?
I have no questions.
John, any questions?
No questions.
Brittany?
The neighborhood hasn't changed any since the last time you were here to present on this, correct?
The layout?
The neighborhood hasn't changed any,
No, the layout of the project, no, it's exactly the same.
but the neighborhood, there's still single-family,
Oh,
larger
yeah,
residents
There is.
that completely surround this project, correct?
Yeah, if you want to go back to the arrow, I can show you. But yes, the neighborhood is exactly the same, as far as I know, as it was a month ago.
And so these particular house lots that you're proposing are substantially smaller and more concentrated than all of the neighboring properties that surround this parcel.
The contiguous properties were less dense in the entire, this neighborhood, and other subdivisions
Right, the
throughout that area.
neighborhoods that aren't contiguous to it though, correct?
Right, then the two contiguous property owners, yes, were higher density. Again, we have a different zoning classification.
Fair. That's all I have.
Harb?
Yes, I have many questions actually. But as I look at the history of the project, I notice that they've all been asked before and answered, well, not answered, but addressed by the petitioner before. So actually, in order to save everybody's time here, I don't want to repeat everything again. And actually, no new questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I go back one more thing? What was your proposal? You skipped the slide kind of fast for me. What was the proposal for the light pollution for the headlamp?
Oh, so can we go forward a couple to the letter? It's right towards the end, James. Next slide. So what we proposed based on when that originally came up, I believe it was during your April meeting, Mr. Rabito did prepare a letter to the two property owners that are directly across the street and potentially impacted that expressed a willingness to plant 3 evergreen trees in each of their front yards at a location that they would select.
Of 5 to 6 feet?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. The same planting height required by the code.
And you received no response to the 2 letters?
No, I'm hoping those neighbors are here this evening. Again, if they want to take us up on that request, we'd gladly work with them on that.
All right, I'm sorry, thank you.
You're welcome.
No other questions? All right, anybody from the general public?
Hello, I'm William Pitts, adjacent landowner, 1815 Dodge Road, East Amherst, New York. There's currently 4 board members who were on the board 4 years ago when the start of this journey happened. In 21, you all agreed with the residents that this proposal did not fit the established rural neighborhood. You have agreed with us about it not being consistent with the Bicentennial Comprehensive Plan. You denied it 3 times. You even wrote a letter to the town board stating that they should deny this proposal, but they didn't listen to you. After several years, the town board voted to rezone the property from SA to R3. Brian Kalpa told us residents their vote was for rezoning only and that the planning board had final say on the subdivision. R3 doesn't mean, wait a minute here. The R3 zone means the property can be subdivided with single-family detached residential homes, not necessarily 14 houses. It does not mean that he gets to have a public roadway. Even though 90% of the residents oppose a 14-lot subdivision, we counteroffered with a 4 to 6 houses to be directly on Dodge Road with no public road. This would be harmonious and fit into our immediately houses that are all one house on many acres. I myself have 4.5 acres of property. And that would be harmonious with our neighborhood and would be consistent with the BCP. You told us your hands were tied because of the rezoning. We, the residents, disagree. In the seeker negative declaration letter, it talks about proposed 16-lot residential subdivision and a public roadway and a single curb cut onto Dodge Road, which are proposed. This whole letter talks about proposed subdivision. It doesn't have to be a major one. The key here is proposed. Item 2 on the letter states, the project will not result in the removal or destruction of large quantities of vegetation, and you have not sufficient and will not have sufficient adverse impacts on the wildlife and their habitat. That's a lie. It will. There are a lot of trees, bushes, even flower gardens, which will have to be removed, and the 14 houses to be built. Not to mention all the wildlife that will be displaced. Trust me, I get the joy of watching them all the time. For now. Item 3 talks about the BCP. Specific section 3.31 states that this new development is generally consistent with the section of the BCP and the character with the surrounding single-family residential area. You know this is not true because you stated so in your denial letter to the town board dated November 21st. Section 3.31 states that such development should be consistent with the scale and the character of the existing surrounding residential area. New infill development should be designed to be consistent with the established character and surrounding properties. The surrounding residential areas have one house on 1+ acres. A 14-house subdevelopment is not in character with the surrounding properties. Item 5 states that the project will not impair the character or quality of the existing community, neighborhood character because it is compared with the land use of the Essex subdivision instead of comparing it to the 35 to 40 single-family homes on much larger lots in our neighborhood. Item 8 states that the proposal will be consistent with the scale and surrounding land use. This is also a lie. Again, the neighborhood consists of 35 to 40 family homes situated on an acre of land or more, as compared to only subdivision Essex homes. Item 9 talks about interdepartment reviews. Why weren't these made public to the residents? Item 10 states the rezoning of the site will allow for the construction of approximately 15 single-family dwellings. It does not say it must have that many on this site. Item 11 says that Dodge Road is a county collector roadway and there will be no significant impact, negative traffic impact. Again, we all know that this is a lie. We already have a hard time getting out of our driveway, especially when school is in session. And with the bus stop for a subdivision, we'll continue to stop the traffic for even longer. We already have 4 dangerous intersections in our area, 1 Hopkins and Dodge, 1 Casey and Dodge, 1 at North French and Dodge, and the other at Brenridge and Dodge. We have already had several residents involved in car accidents because of all the traffic. Item 12 talks about coordinated review of the project with various town departments in August of 21. Right after this happened, I spoke with someone at the planning board, at the planning department, who questioned me about the Essex subdivision and how it got approved and the issues that were brought up with that. I answer was simple. You tell me, you guys voted for it. I wasn't involved due to the 600-foot rule, not informing everybody. Item 13 states issues not specific mentioned above and or those not specifically reviewed were to be raised by the town departments, outside agencies, and public, and are not deemed to be causing significant negative impact, environmental impacts. We all know that this is a lie. There is the public, us residents have been giving the town a lot of justifications, reasons for 4 years of why this major development should be denied. Again, we suggest a minor development, 4 to 6 houses built directly on Dodge Road with no public roadway. Per Mr. Brian Culpa, the town board has changed the classification from SA to R3. Minor subdivision is R3. If he told us the planning board has the final say on the proposal, why can't you decide on your own? Like you did 4 years ago. You know that the 14 house subdivision does not fit our neighborhood, is not consistent with the BCP. As an advisory board, you have the right to stick with our decision or your original decision, deny the major subdivision and not approve a minor one. This preliminary plat drawing is not set in stone until you decide on the right course of action. A major subdivision will drastically impact our neighborhood and forever change our way of life. And it will force out the wildlife. This impacts my life in many ways. I've lived here for 70 years, not myself, I'm only 57. My family has always had one neighbor on each side of us. Now you're putting 7 houses down what used to be my backyard. I want to know when anyone is listening to us long-term residents talking about to put, I myself want the fence that is talked about put on the back of their properties lines, not mine. This would give me the true 20-foot buffer. This fence needs to be the entire length of the property. There is a property line issue that needs to be resolved before anything can be built. You all know this doesn't fit our rural neighborhood. I'm asking you to do the right thing and use your power to tell the builder this doesn't work for the 90% of the homeowners on Dodge Road. Bring us back a new plan that will keep the taxpayers satisfied and something we can pass. This needs to be something that fits the established neighbors, not just the surrounding areas. We think this needs to be tabled until everyone on this board has seen how we live and understand why you have voted against it 3 times already. It is more important to get this right, not make an uneducated ruling. Remember, the government offices are to work for the people. The people don't want this. Still say 6 houses on Dodge Road with Dodge Road addresses. This is what fits. He will still make money. And I can tell you this, that there would be absolutely no pushback from the neighborhood on that plan. I want to know why it was said, we need single family houses here. But at the meeting last month, Mr. Hopkins stated on another project that little call for single family housing and is more involved with multi-family units. Well, what is it? Single family or multi-use or multi-families? Do the right thing and don't destroy our way of life. I want it known, I will be the neighbor no one wants to live next to. Think about that, Mr. Rubino. You do have to sell these houses. Thank you.
Mr. Pitts, before you leave, the addendum, is this yours? Is that your, okay, I just wanted to put a name to it, because it was here before we got in.
Sandy Mack, 1790 Dodge Road. As stated previously, I live directly across the road from this project. Since I have a large picture window in my living room, the proposed public roadway will cause bright headlights shining constantly in my house, which could cause my vision to be compromised because of my glaucoma. We all know headlights these days are either LED or HID, which means they are a lot brighter now than they were years ago. Since the bright headlights impair my vision, I am concerned about the impact this will have on me. I do not want to be tripping over things in my house or falling downstairs and breaking any bones. I had requested accommodations be made to prevent these excessive bright lights on my property, and Mr. Rubino was kind enough to offer 3 coniferous trees to be planted in my front yard, but I do not believe these trees will sufficiently prevent the lights from coming onto my property and into my living room because they are very sparse. Either an adequate light barrier needs to be implemented on their property or the road needs to be moved. The presentation on the headlight issue at the last planning board meeting stated that the plan was created to depict the theoretical exposure of vehicle headlights exiting the proposed subdivision. It shows an analysis with a bunch of numbers and even shows a profile drawing of a public road with headlight sight distance. It then states, the result of this analysis indicates that a typical vehicle leaving the proposed subdivision under specific conditions may create a situation in which vehicle headlights would be within view. It should be noted that average elevation values were used for the existing residential properties and do not represent any single specific property. This is nothing but a generic answer. It is not specific to this exact situation. Per the preliminary plat drawing, the school bus stop is situated directly across from my driveway. This means the bus will be parked there while loading and unloading children. This will prevent me from getting out of my driveway. My neighbors and I already have a difficult time getting out of our driveways at certain times of the day, especially when school is in session. I believe the solution to all of this is for you to deny this 14-home proposal and approve a minor subdivision, 6 houses directly on Dodge Road with no public roadway. This would solve the headlight issues and the bus stop issue. It would also be consistent with the established rural character of our neighborhood and would appease 90% of the neighbors who are strongly opposed to this major subdivision. Finally, I would like to thank Mr. Gill for his continued support for us residents through this 4-year ordeal. I admire him for standing up for what is right and just, and not just being another puppet of the town board. I would only hope you other board members would realize the negative impact a major subdivision will forever have on our rural country road, and the negative impact it will have on our current lifestyle. It will forever change our lives. Please find it in your hearts to do the right thing. Stand up for what you believe in. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Nancy Fender, 101 Main Street. This plat here online, underneath it says Town of Amherst zoning conditions on the bottom. And in number 6, it says, you, the planning board, shall consider provisions for future access to the north and south of the subject property. Where's the future access to the north? There is none. But as I stated last time, this proposal all started in lies, and I'm praying it's not going to end on lies. The handout in front of you is just some of the paperwork. Amy's got a thing she can put up, which are lies and those are all, every action there is a misrepresentation or a lie in the seeker application. You do not have a copy of that. If you want one, Amy may be able to get you one, but there's quite a few there as you look. But the BCP and subdivision laws both state that all redevelopment of land should be harmonious with the established surrounding neighborhood. You, the planning board, denied it 3 times when this all started, saying it's not harmonious. Just because now it's zoned R3, it fits. A minor subdivision is R3, 4 to 6 houses along Dodge Road, no extra road. The wildlife issue in the handout concerns the residents. They know that prior to when Brenbridge was built, there were pheasants everywhere. I remember coming home and asking my dad, where's all the pheasants? He said, since they built that atrocity, they ain't seen a one. Well, what's going to happen to the wildlife on this property? And there's a lot. Subdivisions are destroying the rural nature of Amherst. And I am concerned about the impact of headlights on the longtime residents across the street. Why do they need to redo their yard to compensate for the issues with him. I just don't think it's right. So to sum it all up, if you approve this proposal, you, the planning board, are stating you don't care about what the BCP says or the subdivision laws. You're saying you don't care about the elderly health matters, and you don't give a damn about wildlife. So think carefully about the impact of your decision when voting. And Lord, I help those who allow greed, peer pressure, lies, debauchery, and control to guide them in their decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the general public with a question or concern before I go back to Mr. Hopkins for a response? Nobody? Okay. Mr. Hopkins.
So a lot of the comments were, I want to keep that up, by the way. There was a lot of comments that were made by the residents this evening, and literally all of them applied to what happened last month. It's unfortunate. The planning board issued a negative, not unfortunate, but I'm saying the comments, they apply to the environmental review that was issued by the planning board on May 15th, the negative declaration. The first speaker said it's a lie, it's false, you're lying. It's not us they're accusing of lying, it's the planning board they're accusing of lying. So I want that to be clear for the record. I do want to address this allegation of fraud, misrepresentation, debauchery, and whatever insult you can add to the list. This is completely untrue. We've answered every single question in the EAF. That's already done. If you pull the most current version online, we've not misrepresented anything. I did point out that there was one mistake, and I agree with Dodge Road should have been noted on the EAF as being within 1,500 feet of the site. I referenced that clearly. We have a minimal impact on wetlands. We do not cross the threshold for a traffic study. That's 100 trips during a peak travel period, AM or PM. We're much less than that. In terms of wildlife species, I think I answered typical suburban species. No one, when answering the EAF, lists every single potential species that could be on a site. And more importantly, in connection with the coordinated environmental review, the DEC was one of the involved agencies. They did not express any concerns about this project having negative impacts on protected wildlife or protected wildlife habitat. With all that being said, there's just a fundamental disagreement on what the role of the planning board is. Tonight, at this stage, now that it's been rezoned, your role is preliminary plat, whether or not what we're showing complies with the code. And the answer is unequivocally that it does. I mean, it's not simply, hey, how many people are against this? How do we feel in terms of the number of lots? It's, does it comply with the code? It complies with the code. And as such, from my position, legally, you're obligated to grant preliminary plat approval. I understand that there were members of this planning board that were opposed to the rezoning. That decision was ultimately made by the town board. So tonight, your role is not advisory. Tonight, your role is decision-making based on the criteria in the code.
Thank you. Okay, I'll close the hearing. Let's move on to item number 3. And this is 4774, 4780 Sheridan Drive, and it's Mr. Hopkins again.
Good evening once again. Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant, 4780 Sheridan Drive, LLC. Also with me is Rob Savarino. This is a very straightforward matter. You previously did issue a negative declaration pursuant to seeker during your meeting on May 15th. We're back this evening seeking subdivision approval for literally the exact same layout that you approved in June of last year. The only change, which has nothing to do with physical aspects of the site, is we've now created lots for each of the attached townhomes for sale. That was done at the request of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation in connection with the Brownfield Cleanup Program. As you recall, this site has contamination. We've been accepted to the Brownfield Cleanup Program, and one of the key benefits of this project is we'll be cleaning up that contamination. And that process has begun. If you've driven by there, the buildings have been demolished. We're working with the DC, trying to accomplish that as soon as possible. The project itself consists of 22 units, 11 buildings. These are two dwelling unit buildings, townhomes for sale. Each unit features a 2-car garage and a covered deck. We are showing a 6-foot fence along the perimeter of the property. Each unit has approximately 1,780 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and is designed to accommodate first floor living for empty nesters and seniors that live in the town of Amherst and want to stay in the same town that they've been in. The expected price point is $500,000 plus, and the layout does comply with Appendix D of the Fire Code. I do want to note, as Mr. Palumbo indicated during the work session, this is what I would call an atypical subdivision, meaning it doesn't involve a public road with single-family homes on single-family lots. It's simply so that, for example, if you buy this unit at the very back, you'll acquire that little parcel, and then you'll also have rights with everyone else to the permanent green space, which is code common area around the perimeter of the property. Next slide. We have anything else? And I really don't think I need to go through the rest of the history. Again, it's the exact same layout. If any of you have any questions, I do want to reiterate one of the slides is Mr. Savarino, as part of the original rezoning process, made a commitment that he would keep interested property owners informed. He most recently did send a letter last week advising all the nearby property owners of the status of the pending request for preliminary plat approval, and also providing them with an update on the status of the cleanup pursuant to the Brownfield Cleanup Program. So we would ask respectfully that you grant preliminary plat approval. We've been at this project for a long time. We think overall it's a great project and that it'll clean up this site, and it is consistent with the rezoning that was approved by the town board in the previous discussions with this board as well.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke, any questions?
I have no questions.
Mr. Davis? No questions. Brittany?
No questions.
Barb?
Yes, I have a question regarding the, your request for a waiver to Chapter 2004 of the Town Code.
James, can you forward a couple slides? There you go. Go ahead.
So just, could you clarify what you're seeking for the waiver and why?
Yeah, so pursuant, I'll ask anyone from the planning department to chime in if I don't cover it all. So pursuant to the amended subdivision regulations adopted by the town board on December 2nd, I believe it was last year, there are certain new requirements. Because this is a private road, we're asking for a couple of waivers for those. Number one, I believe sidewalks would be required on both sides of the street. We're showing sidewalks on one side of the street, going all the way out to Sheridan Drive. Two, pursuant to those amended subdivision regulations, rather than a T turnaround, it now mandates that you have a traditional bulb cul-de-sac. We're not proposing that, but again, it does comply with Appendix D of the Fire Code. And because it's a private roadway, the town's not responsible for snow plowing of that particular thing. We're not showing any substreets to the adjacent properties. There really is no opportunities for connections on all three sides. It's previously been developed. And I think that covers it. Gary, is there anything else I'm missing in terms of the waivers?
Planting strips, upright curbs.
Oh yeah, planting strips and upright curbs. And again, the reason we're making that request is all the infrastructure here is private. I mean, this is not a public road where the town's accepting long-term ownership and maintenance responsibilities. All aspects of this subdivision will be private, including maintenance of the sidewalks, roadway, stormwater management area, common area, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there anyone from the general public with any questions or concerns for Mr. Hopkins? Yes, coming up. Yes, please. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Delia Gurman. My address is at 90 DeVille Circle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, so I just moved here in November. No idea this project was happening when we moved here, unfortunately. This is all going on in my backyard. I can see it all happening. My big concern is privacy. I know there's a fence going around there. I'm concerned about where the fence is exactly going to be. And if it's gonna make a white fence, and because my concern about privacy, I have two young boys and who want to be in the backyard and play in the backyard. So I have a lot of concern about that. There's also been a lot of trash from the construction site going into the backyard, but it's like styrofoam and some material because of the wind, I guess, going in there. So I'm concerned about that. Also the drainage as well. We already have some puddles in the backyard, which my boys absolutely love. But I don't want it to get worse. I also worry about the sinking. It rains a lot here and snows a lot here. So I'm concerned about that as well.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns from anyone else before I turn it back over to Mr. Hopkins?
Could we just go to the landscape plan, James? So there you go. So as a result of the lengthy review process and noting that the previous speaker is new to the neighborhood, basically what we're showing around the perimeter is high impact screening, a 6-foot fence, along everywhere we're touching residential subdivision. We're also showing high-impact screening, which you can see is very extensive screening around the perimeter. And pursuant to one of the conditions imposed by the town board on the back, which is DeVere Court, we're actually showing more trees than required, kind of more a staggered row of evergreen trees. With all that being said, we would gladly meet with the adjoining property owner, show her the presentation, and make sure she's brought up to speed. And we'll certainly add her to our neighborhood notification list going forward.
Thank you. Anything else? Item number 4, 2577 Millersport Highway. Request to rezone 1.41 acres of land from Neighborhood Business District NB to General Business District GB. And it's Mr. Palumbo.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Palumbo from the law firm of Black Longo, representing the petitioner here this evening in connection with the former Nina's Custard on Millersport Highway. The property is 1.41 acres in size, currently zoned NB, and the request is to rezone the property to GB. I think we skipped a couple. Did we? Yeah, so you can see the property. You're all very familiar with the property. It's a Burger King in the immediate area. The property shaded in yellow here. And again, there's a dealership immediately north of us, commercial retail to the south, single-family homes to the east, and across the street again, auto dealership and more commercial retail. The request is really pretty simple. What we're planning to do here, what my client is planning to do here is to put a nationally recognized coffee shop into the property. And the reason why he can't do it in the NB is that there's a drive-through proposed for the facility. Drive-throughs are not allowed in NB, therefore the request to GB. Now, since this has been taking some time, we are in a position where we may not have that coffee shop anymore. It's still up in the air, but we are dealing with several other tenants that may or may not be coffee shops, but who will also require a drive-through. So I don't want to misrepresent anything today. It's possible that it will be the original coffee shop, but it may be something other than that that requires a drive-through. So the only other things I wanted to point out were the comprehensive plan, and our application was pretty detailed in terms of all the questions that are asked in the EAF and the discussion relative to the comprehensive plan. So I just wanted to point out a couple of different things. Number one, there's many sections in the comprehensive plan that talk about revitalization of older areas and commercial corridors. The section 3.2 and policy 3.9 specifically says a key objective of the land use and development element is to advance the redevelopment and revitalization of underutilized, obsolete, and vacant properties for economically viable uses. And of course, we're on a major highway here with Millersport Highway. The property has been vacant for some time, so we believe that this fits on all four corners with the comprehensive plan and the discussion within there regarding revitalization. As I said, you can find that in many different sections. The conceptual land use plan clearly places this parcel in a commercial mixed-use area. So again, we think in combining the conceptual land use plan with the language of the plan itself, I think you'll agree with us that this does comply with the comprehensive plan. There's also further sections, 3.3.2, that talk about suggesting that land-intensive commercial uses that include automobile-related uses, which is exactly what we are proposing here with respect to the issue of the drive-through. So the objectives that are we believe that we meet are, again, laid out in our application. But one of the things is to protect the character and value of residential, institutional, and public uses, business, commercial, and manufacturing uses. And that this property is located already in a commercial area on a major thoroughfare. So rezoning from NB to GB allows a restaurant, a quick service restaurant with a drive-through that really fits the area. You know, Burger King, 2 doors down, has the drive-through. The drugstore has a drive-through. So this is not out of harmony with the neighborhood. There will be an extensive landscape plan that will shield the existing neighbors. You can see here, we've added substantial landscaping. Of course, we're not at that stage yet. We would work with the landscape architect of the town to make sure that there is ample area for buffering. So with that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Palumbo. Mr. O'Rourke, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Davis?
Mr. Palumbo, I was going to say I was really looking forward to it being a Starbucks, but you say that it might not be.
Might still be.
Okay, it might still be. All right, there's hope. Thank you.
I'm not supposed to say that it was a Starbucks, by the way.
Too late now.
Right.
Brittany?
Would you consider a restriction on, for perpetuity, for the back rear where this parcel abuts single-family homes, and there's concern obviously with, you know, a busy drive-through and the hours of that operation and such, that it would disturb the neighboring single-family residences, such that it would provide ample opportunity for a barrier?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. There used to be, when Nina's was first approved, there was a restriction on the back. I forgot how many feet it was. Dan would probably know, but there was a restriction. Then that was removed at a later date by the Zoning Board of Appeals, or I think when Nina's came in for outdoor dining. I think that's what it was. So there was a restriction at one time. And if I was 100% sure what we were doing with this site, I might be able to answer that question. But now that there is some doubt as to what ultimately will go there, I'd be hesitant to agree to that at this time. I certainly, I think I would agree to this if the board would consider, if they're making a recommendation of approval, then make a recommendation that there be a buffer setback committed, and then let the town board decide once we know exactly what's going to go here. If that makes any sense.
That's all I had.
You submitted a concept plan here, and I guess just now we learned that it may not look like that.
It will look like that if the original tenant stays with us, because this is their design.
But it might not.
It might not, that's correct.
And it's difficult to form a judgment without being able to visualize what we are considering. So just to reinforce what Ms. Penberthy just said, I think one of the considerations here is you have shown a considerable amount of green space to the east of that. And I think your recommendation that, as this is a rezoning, so we can only recommend to the board. So we can include that condition also as part of a recommendation, that consider a setback for green space or what have you towards the east of that, so the east part of the lot, and perhaps give a certain, quantify it with some certain feet, 65, 70, something like that.
Yeah, and again, I would find it difficult to commit my client to that at this point, but I certainly can't stop the board from making that recommendation. It's just that we don't know. That building could be raised in front and another building put in the back farther. We just don't know at this point 100% sure. We do know that we still want the general business, because there will be a drive-through there sooner or later.
Well, if it was a outdoor dining area, that's different than having a drive-through lane getting close to somebody's house. Okay.
Agreed.
So that is the concern that I have, and I think others have. So Well, our job is just to recommend, and we shall, in our resolution today, we'll recommend to the board to include an offset for green space.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone from the general public? Oh, yeah, sure. Bring it right up on here. Thank you. Thank you.
So my name is Melissa Semide Finley. I'm representing the neighbors of Collins Court, which is the neighborhood that is directly adjacent to this proposed development. And so going to my first slide, just from a legal perspective, the factors to consider when rezoning a property is the rezoning consistent with the comprehensive land use plan? And does the rezoning benefit an individual developer to the detriment of the property owners? So we believe that the proposed rezoning is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. So first, looking at the zoning code, which is created in furtherance of the comprehensive plan, a neighborhood business district was created to have mixed uses, business and residences together, but it is created to ensure the compatibility of such areas with surrounding residential development. So it's an acknowledgement that yes, there are businesses, but they need to be compatible with the fact that there's a large amount of residential development nearby. Contrary to that, a general business district acknowledges that it's kind of a larger scale development. It uses larger land areas, generates large volumes of traffic, and may generate large amounts of evening activity, all of which are not really compatible with a quiet residential environment. So I want to mention too, that originally this property was a B3 business district, and the town specifically changed it to a neighborhood business district in 1976. We believe is an acknowledgement that any new business development needs to be compatible with that adjacent residential neighborhood, which has continued to grow since 1976. Basically, we should not have busy drive-throughs that generate traffic and noise and air pollution right next to houses. Also, I'm taking an excerpt from the Town of Amherst Comprehensive Plan. I'm sorry, next slide. This is in section 3.2. This is talking about why we're promoting mixed-use development in large commercial areas. And part of the purpose of that is to not encourage furthering strip commercial development along different corridors, including explicitly Millersport Highway, which is where this is. We also, as a town, want to promote development that supports pedestrian and bicycle travel, and reduce roadway congestion and pollution. So the comprehensive plan is explicitly disfavoring commercial development on Millersport Highway, which is where this is. Rezoning to general business will in fact facilitate and encourage additional commercial development, which is inconsistent with that plan. It's also going to discourage pedestrian and bicycle travel, which will increase roadway congestion and air pollution. Again, not consistent with the plan. The next slide. So section 3-15 specifically addresses rezoning and the factors that need to be considered. It specifically says that any proposed rezoning should not cause adverse impacts on adjacent land uses, which in this case is the residences, and that's with respect to scale, visual intrusion, light, noise, and other related impacts. It also specifically says that expansion of additional commercial zoning districts should be limited. So we believe there absolutely will be detrimental impacts to the adjoining properties. So first, there's going to be increased noise. I don't know if you can really tell from that site plan, but the drive-through is almost literally in your backyard. So I know it shows on the picture that there's an amount of green space in between, which we can't even guarantee will stay there at this moment. But that 80 feet when you're in the house that's right next to there, I mean, that drive-through is right there. Another house is only 60 feet away from the speaker, which doesn't comply with zoning setback requirements either. So if it is a Starbucks, we all know that those drive-throughs are busy all day long. From 6 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, you're gonna have a parade of cars that involves car noise, muffler noise, people's voices giving their orders, people talking. In the summer, they have their windows rolled down. You can hear their music. Nobody will be able to sit in their backyard and just enjoy nature the way they always have. They're gonna just constantly be hearing cars. In addition, there will be impaired air quality. So when you have cars idling all day long, 7 days a week, that absolutely will affect the air quality of the people's backyards and houses that are nearby. There's numerous studies, I can provide them, that have examined the health effects associated with idling cars and exhaust, and there's well-documented health impacts to that. So all the people that are around there probably are gonna have to get air purifiers because it is going to affect the air coming into their house. And then there's also decreased property values. So most people, when they purchase a property, do not want a driveway that is abutting a drive-through for the reasons I just said. So people that once bought houses in a quiet neighborhood with nice backyards lined with trees, now they're going to see a drive-through, and I think that will diminish the property values. Next slide. So I know the applicant has indicated that this use seems to be compatible with the surrounding uses, but I think there is pretty important differences, and that's why this is a neighborhood business district and not a general business district. So there are car dealerships nearby. Those car dealerships involved a whole lot of parked cars with no noise or emissions throughout the day. So that's not any type of nuisance to the neighbors. They don't care that those cars are parked there. They're not making noise. They're not generating air pollution. It's a very different type of use. There's also drugstore drive-through, which is a permitted use in the current neighborhood business district. Again, that particular type of drive-through is a few cars here and there throughout the day. It's not going to be a line of 15, 20 cars all day long, as we know that a Starbucks can generate. Likewise, there's a bank drive-through. Bank drive-through as well is permitted in the neighborhood business district, again, because it's a few cars sporadically through the day. It's not at all the type of use that a Starbucks, or if it's a different use, could generate. Now, there is that Burger King there, but the problem with saying that a Burger King is a compatible use, that was permitted in 1973, which was before that area was rezoned to the neighborhood business district. So our belief is the town probably realized after that was permitted that that really wasn't an appropriate use to have a drive-through so close to residential development, which is why they changed the zoning designation after that was permitted. Next slide. So we believe this project would create new and bad precedent. So we did check all the Starbucks locations in the town of Amherst. For the ones, there are actually a couple that don't even have a drive-through, but I know apparently their new business model requires one. But none of them abut a residential property. So the drive-throughs are primarily in plazas or large commercial corridors. None of those driveways are right next to a residence the way this one would be. I also want to mention, I know that the applicant's submission mentioned that there's a Tim Hortons on Millersport, which is down the road. Again, that's actually in a different district, zoning district, but it also does not abut a residential property line. So again, this would be new precedent, and I believe not a good one. And again, I know that the applicant said it may not be a Starbucks. Who knows what it will be? I think it's actually more concerning to us that we would change the zoning designation without even knowing what's proposed. But if it is in fact a Starbucks, and this is a Google search, and if Starbucks says it's incorrect, I would be welcome to listen to that. But it's saying that a single Starbucks location can see anywhere from 500 to 750 customers daily. At peak lunchtime, there are over 200 or more cars between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. So imagine sitting in your backyard and you're going to have a parade of 200 cars when you're just trying to enjoy your time in your backyard. It's just not a reasonable proposal to have next to a house. And I also wanted to make some counter arguments. I do acknowledge that the comprehensive plan does favor revitalization of vacant properties. And by all means, we don't want any property sitting vacant. It's not good for the neighborhood. But Nina's has not been sitting vacant for a while. It just closed its doors on December 30th, which is just under 6 months ago. And honestly, it's been just going through the zoning for this new proposal. The applicant has acknowledged there's other potential opportunities, so this is definitely not the only use of that property. I would also mention that profitable quick service restaurants can be found all over Amherst, so it's not as though a drive-through is the only profitable use of this property. Spot Coffee is a great option. Potler's, Pie O' Mine, Johnny C's, My Tomato Pie, which I believe the owner of this property actually owns. Core Life Eatery, I can go on and on. We all know that quick service restaurants without drive-throughs can absolutely be profitable. It could also be a full-service restaurant. It could be a salon. It could be a small boutique store. A drive-through does not need to be here, so why are we changing the zoning code when there's a profitable use option that actually complies with the zoning code? And then also, just to finish, I just wanted to mention that Facebook kind of confirms and the social media confirms the demand here. So most of the people, when Nina's closed, it was a sad day for all of us, but people were lamenting the fact that their family could walk there, that their family could bike there, that their family could gather there and just enjoy time together. Drive-through restaurants do not promote that. Usually people don't want to sit by a bunch of idling cars, and it's also, again, promoting people driving instead of walking, biking, doing the things that the comprehensive plan encourages. So I don't think the people want it. I think the people want coffee. And I know you said you're excited about a Starbucks. I'm excited about coffee too, but I'm not excited about a drive-through, and I don't think one is necessary here. And I just want to really emphasize, I think we are extra concerned hearing today that it may not even be a Starbucks, that there's an opportunity for any other type of use that could be incompatible with these residences. So I think it would be a bad decision to rezone this property without even knowing what the proposal may be. Does anybody think? I guess that's all I have.
I did have a question for you. We've heard talk about the potential for having some thick vegetation on the 60 or some odd feet of the east part of the property as a buffer, which could also be, as part of our recommendation, keeping in mind that we're advisory only to the town board. Is that something that would be amenable to your clients, just by way of reference?
So I feel like our clients are against the rezoning, so I don't want to say that that would make it okay. I think if it's absolutely going to be rezoned and we have no choice, obviously we would want that buffer there. But our view is opening up the doors to general business opens up the door for a host of uses that could be detrimental to the neighborhood. So screening is better than no screening, but our position is we just don't think this is a good decision to do it, whether there is screening or not.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the general public with any questions or comments before we go back to Mr. Palumbo? No? Mr. Palumbo, if you could respond, if you wish.
We included in part of our application a letter from Mr. Scioli, the former owner of Nina's. And I think it's instructive, and I'd like to just read it quickly. I have owned and operated Nina's Custard at 2577 Millersport Highway since 1990. This past year, we made the difficult decision to close the restaurant due to increasing challenges in competing with modern quick service establishments that offer drive-through service. The trend in the food service industry has shifted away from dine-in options for fast casual restaurants, as many families are often on the go and prefer the convenience of drive-through service. Based on my experience, I believe it would be extremely difficult for any operator to successfully run a restaurant at this location without a drive-through facility. Several competing businesses in the immediate vicinity have drive-through service, putting this property at a disadvantage. Looking back, I regret not incorporating a drive-through when I originally built the restaurant, as it would allow us to remain competitive with newer establishments along Millersport Highway. The property has ample green space and a substantial buffer from nearby residential areas. Additionally, the traffic impact of a drive-through would be minimal compared to the approximately 18,000 vehicles that already travel along Millersport Highway daily. Without the ability to add a drive-through, the building's functional use will likely become obsolete. So those are the exact same comments that my client has, and the difficulty in trying to now lease this property. The retail establishment wants a drive-through, and Lord help anybody who's biking to Nina's in that area on Millersport Highway. I don't, again, Lord help them. In terms of whether or not restaurants with drive-throughs back up to single-family homes, it happens all over the town of Amherst. The Burger King backs up to single-family homes. I mean, you can name dozens, if not hundreds. In terms of the backup of the vehicles, compared to the 18,000 vehicles that are going by that property every day, it's a drop of fumes. It's not something that is going to cause any significant impact to anyone. So with that, I would just simply ask the board to make the recommendation to the town board to rezone the property to GB. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Palumbo. Okay, we'll close the hearing. Okay, that's it for the public hearings. Does anybody need a break or anything before we get into the votes? Who else want to get it?
I need a short break.
Short break? Okay. We'll take a couple minute break, then we'll get into the final votes. What's that?
No, because we're only doing public hearings.
That's
And the
not- oh,
public
gotcha.
hearings were only one
It's
through
gonna be
four.
voted on. Which one are you talking about?
It's for extension, it's never a public hearing.
Oh, that one? That must be a function of the regulation or statute. I honestly don't know that.
Oh, you're talking about,
I've never had that come up once in 5 years. Yeah. But the name change? I don't remember that. I mean, it was a part of a public hearing? Huh. Right. No idea. Don't remember. I believe you. I just don't recall. Oh, it's nice. Well, I was telling people I left here. It was 75 degrees on a Friday when I left. I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm happy to go, but I'm leaving good weather. The minute I got there, it got cold and rainy the entire time I was gone here in Buffalo. So every day in Florida was like 91, 92 years old. Never rained once, never clouds once. I come back here, it's 49 degrees when I get back. I mean, it was just like 3 weeks ago. I came back in shorts and a t-shirt. I didn't bring a coat or a jacket with me. So I'm like walking to my Uber to get home. It's like, oh my God, I'm come back to winter. I mean, it was awful. Yeah, so I think we need to discuss it because I'm sensing that on Dodge Road, at best, 3-2 in favor, maybe not. I'm guessing these two are voting against. Yeah, I've been thinking it for the last. If it's 3-2, that's not. Can you then move to adjourn then? Or is that the final word? Because I want to discuss that before we have a vote. Yeah, well, that's what I think we should do with this. We get this is item number 2. Is that senses are, I hate the push ends. Yes.
Are you sitting here, James? You can, I'm just asking.
So
I just go through whatever they're talking about. What? I know, I just. What? Oh, I always, this is my color, I always don't get my name. Got a mani-pedi between meeting, work and a meeting. I figure I sit around here, something. There's leftovers. He likes to do when I'm not there is Uber Eats. He spends like $40 on Wendy's.
Why we made.
Yeah. That's fine. It's a non-vote because or
So then, if it ends up being 3-2, whatever,
then you can make it.
then I can make a motion.
We've done that before with the floor. Okay, motion failed. Make another motion. Right. They're all closed. Let's just turn on. City? I like.
What it is. So what it is.
Yeah.
Make something.
Right,
I can't change the law. So I'll. Auditorium.
I guess I'm first.
I don't know, I think. I'll- Sorry about that. Sorry about that, just discussing some procedural stuff.
We did the minutes already, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we are going to get to our votes now. Item number 1 is again 1880, what is this, Eggert Road. First, we have the seeker determination. Do I hear a proposal?
I'll move on the neg deck.
We have a proposal. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Camille,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes.
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 Hold on one second here. My mistake. We didn't talk about the conditions. Okay?
What was, that was just seeker.
Oh, that's out. Never mind.
Yeah. I'll move to approve with conditions.
There we go. You're ahead of me.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in any event, the neg deck passed 5-0. Now we move on to the actual proposal. Do I hear a proposal? Yes, you did with conditions.
Yes.
Can we have the conditions read?
Sure. One, that the conditions of signs is specifically excluded from this approval as they require a separate review and approval by the town. 2, that all dumpsters, trash containers, and all mechanical equipment, utility structures, multiple meter boards, generators, and similar appurtenances, including those which are mounted on any part of a primary structure, shall be appropriately screened with a fence, wall, and/or landscaping, that a gate be provided on any dumpster enclosure, and it shall be closed whenever the dumpster is not being serviced. The enclosure shall be high enough to screen the dumpsters within. And 3, that as-built property surveys, including location of utilities, be provided to the engineering department prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy by the building department. 4, that the concerns raised in the planning department letter dated June 10th, 2025 by the zoning enforcement officer and planning department staff be addressed to the satisfaction of the officer and the department staff. 5, that utility as-built shall be provided to the engineering services division prior to certificate of occupancy being issued as stipulated in the engineering department engineering services division letter dated February 27th, 2025. And 6, that the petitioner and/or their contractor obtain any required permits for the Erie County Department of Public Works Highway Division for any work within the Eggert Road right-of-way.
Okay, has everybody heard and understand the conditions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, is there a proposal with regard to the conditions? Already done? Is someone going to second that?
Second.
Second from John Davis. Roll call, please. Yes?
Yes.
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 Okay, passes 5-0. All right, moving on to item number 2. This is 1789 Dodge Road. We already had the secret determination on this, so we can get right to the actual proposal here.
There's a waiver first.
Waiver.
Oh, see, I was wondering, do we want to do that first or second? Matter?
It should be first.
You should be first? Okay. All right, well, first we have the actual,
I'll move to deny the waiver requirement to install the paved stub road and the associated, well, I'll move to deny the waiver for the paved stub road
okay.
and approve the waiver for the sidewalks on the southern property line.
Okay. Has everyone heard the proposal? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. O'Rourke, roll call, please. Yes.
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 Okay. With regard to the actual resolution itself on the preliminary plat review, we do have conditions on this. Can we have those read?
Number 1, that no driveway access be granted to the stub streets southerly from the proposed sublots number 6 and number 7. Number 2, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department's letter dated June 16th, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of the final plat. Number 3, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Engineering Services Division's letter dated April 10, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of final plat. Number 4, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Stormwater Management Officer's letter dated April 10, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that officer prior to submittal of the final plat. Number 5, that the comments raised in the Amherst Traffic Safety Board letter dated June 4, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that board prior to submittal of a final plat. Number 6, that an address plan for the subdivision is approved prior to issuance of any building permits for homes within the subdivision as required by the Amherst Fire Chiefs Association letter dated June 2, 2025. Number 7, that the subdivision name and proposed street name be approved prior to submittal of a final plat. And finally, number 8, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Planning Department letter dated June 10, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of final plat.
Okay, has everybody heard and understood the conditions?
Yes.
Yes.
Hearing that, do I hear a proposal?
I move to approve with the conditions.
Move to approve with conditions by Mr. O'Rourke. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Davis. Roll call. Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's 3 votes in favor, 2 votes against. Okay, moving on to item number 3, and It's 3-2 in favor. That's, to give you some background on what we were discussing right now, that's a legal interpretation right now. You know, that we're actually, well, we can't, the law is whatever the law is. If 3-2 is sufficient to pass it, it passed. If it's not, it's not. It's 3-2 in favor. That's all I can really say right now. It's fine. Well, that's the issue. We have a quorum, just to explain, we have a quorum right now. A quorum is required of over 4 people. What the question that we have is 3 enough legally to pass on this? That, I can tell you right now, we're awaiting opinion on. We don't know that for sure. Whether it's legally sufficient to pass or not is not up to us. We didn't create the law, obviously, here. But that's what we're waiting for. Okay. Moving, that's, beyond that, I wish I could tell you exactly what it is. I can't. Item number 3, 4774, 4780 Sheridan Drive.
Again, there are waivers.
Yeah, we have, first vote on this is with respect to the 4 waivers being required. Those of sidewalks on both sides of the private street, planting strips on both sides of the street, upright curbs, and not continuing the property lines to the center line of the private roadway. Do we have a vote or proposal on the waiver request?
I move to approve the waiver.
Mr. O'Rourke moves to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Davis, seconds. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 That passes 5-0. Okay, and now on to the proposal for the preliminary plat review. Do we have conditions on this one? Yes, can we have the conditions reviewed, please?
Condition number 1, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Building Department Plumbing Division letter dated April 8th, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of a final plat. Number 2, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Sanitary letter dated May 6, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of final plat. Number 3, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Engineering Service Division's letter dated May 6, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of final plat. Number 4, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Planning Department letter dated June 12, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of final plat. Number 5, that the comments raised in the New York State Department of Transportation review received April 7, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that agency. Number 6, that the subdivision name and proposed street name be approved prior to submittal of final plat. And finally, number 7, that an address plan for the subdivision is approved prior to issuance of any building permits for homes within the subdivision.
Has everyone heard and understood the conditions?
Yes.
Do I have a proposal?
Make a motion to approve the conditions.
Mr. Davis moves to propose with conditions. Mr. O'Rourke seconds. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 4, 2577 Millersport Highway. This is a recommendation to rezone. Recommendation of the town board.
I'd move to approve with the addition of the perpetual vegetation barrier in the rear portion of the parcel that abuts the single-family residence.
Right. And you, when you say perpetual, I would assume you mean it's something that runs with the title that stays for all time.
Correct.
Okay. Has everyone here heard the proposal? Ms. Penberthy? Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Davis seconds it with the condition that she added. Roll call, please. Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That passes 4-1. Item number 5 is 2420, 2430 North Forest Road. This is a request for a 2-year extension on site plan approval. Is there a proposal on this? Mr. O'Rourke moves to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Davis. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Passes 5-0. Okay, now we have item number 6, 10060 Transit Road, Ashley Green.
There are conditions, Mr. Chairman.
We don't have a seat, we did seeker on this one already?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, could the conditions be reviewed, please?
Yes, condition 1, that once approved by the town, all easements shown on the final plat and the declaration of private drainage conditions be filed with the Erie County Clerk's Office, and that copies on the filed easements and drainage conditions are provided to the Town of Amherst Planning Department. Number 2, that an address plan for the subdivision is approved prior to the issuance of any building permits for homes within the subdivision. And condition number 3, that the final signature of the planning board chairman on the map cover be withheld until such time the town law department approves the draft easements. Those are the conditions.
Has everyone heard and understood the conditions?
Yes.
Do I have a proposal?
I'll propose to approve.
Move to approve by Harb, second? I'll second it. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Passes 5-0. And on to item number 7, the request, proposed renaming of Beaumont Parkway. This is a recommendation of the town board. We're not the final say on this. There are no conditions to this. Do I have a proposal?
Move to deny.
Ms. Pemberton moves to deny. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Harb. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Ms. Pemberton's motion to deny passes 5-0. Okay, we've already done the minutes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Should we recess for 5 more minutes?
To hear. Well, let's not close it, guys. I'm saying this myself. I don't want. Yeah, it was like 6-1. Yeah, we know it's 3-2. But we'll know that by. Oh. Yeah. I feel like this has happened before, but I just don't.
Well, things may have changed, but I'm not sure. But it explained to me, I questioned it.
What you're saying, I've heard before too.
I
That makes
questioned
sense.
who was the attorney here? He gave us introduction when we put it through.
Probably would have been State Steve, but that's.
There are 4, 5, 6, 7.
I'd really like to see
Yeah, I know.
Bankart literally show us
I think Sean knows.
the
That's why he
regs.
said it.
He probably does. He probably does, but I don't want it.
And he also
In
explained
fairness to
to me.
everybody else, I don't want
and
him.
Sean explained to me once a motion carry. There's a denial.
But before I send
over, or?
I don't think so yet.
Okay, okay. Andy?
Yeah, but I don't know the law of meetings. Somebody show me the statute, I can look it up.
It's not Robert's law, it's just somebody's.
And 4 people is enough. That's a quorum, that's what it does. It's off the rock. Vanguard, I just want to be extra sure about this. You understand that we're getting from Vanguard?
That's,
They said as long as you have a quorum, and we do, it's a majority of people present, which in this case would be the passes.
it's wrong.
But,
Sean, you also told me you need 4 people.
Oh, you mean passes as approved?
right.
You know that's not true.
All I care is that.
Well, that's,
But but by virtue of,
it's a failure to pass a denial, that's my question. Yeah, I know nothing about
but
it.
by the failure to take action, which in effect happened here, it is approved.
True.
That's the failure to take action within after the public hearing.
Yeah, no.
Okay, and I guess we just. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
we have, yeah.
Okay.
And you can ask them.
Yeah, we've done that with you.
So that's, and again, what you're telling us, what Vanguard's told us, send us the statute of reg, appreciate it. Is that as long as you have a majority of those present and you have a quorum.
Oh, I gotta go, that's absolutely wrong.
That's the thing, we don't know.
Very clearly to me, I questioned it, it didn't sound reasonable. You think that's right, Sean?
Yes. So what's this, what would be this? So
This is ridiculous.
what's,
I think that this is ridiculous. We have attorneys here, you should know it. No, it's the motion is
Vanguard
it's over.
Steve said it's a yes. I asked him again.
Steve's also telling us that.
He is wrong.
Seven people.
He said as long as you have a quorum.
I think what Vanguard's talking about.
No.
Those have also been times.
Say it's because of the applicant, whatever, it could be anything.
Whether he is right or Steve is right, law is the law. We're not judges, okay?
This is what it takes us, but we cannot adjourn. Let's see where the law takes it, 3-2 vote, and that's what this. Another one, another person.
It's one. Question is, what is that? Or it is sufficient to pass.
They don't play the delay game, wait for somebody else to show up.
The majority did vote. 5 out of 7 people. Section 41 mandates the majority of the whole number of the board must vote. Failure to muster a simple majority. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but a majority of the board did vote. 5 out of 7 people did. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need 4 people to approve something. It means you need a majority to vote one way or another. We did have a majority to vote one way or another. We had 5 out of 7. I think there's a reasonable interpretation of what you just read. That is the quorum, not the vote. Planning board. Four votes were cast. Town planning. Four votes were cast in favor.
It's county review. Yeah, it's the county review.
So that's right.
The Department of State.
That's what I keep reading. Doesn't say. Doesn't say. What's up? Other section. What it doesn't say is that sheet. Okay. What do you get told? Show us. Supplements otherwise. So they follow. First. That doesn't say.
Oh, wants to go. Standard. Okay. But it says a failure to muster a simple majority on a vote in favor or opposition is hereby reports to be a non-action. It says the failure to muster a simple majority on a vote in favor. Same section. Yeah.
How? By Tom. Exactly. Hold on. Oh, yeah, there again. I don't know.
Be a jackass, yeah, we don't.
Right. It's in there. Motion, adjourn. Motion, adjourn. Yeah, I'll second. Yes. Yeah. Indeed. That passes 5-0.
See you on July 7th.